So under mutual fund, so they are providing periodical investment for the investors. So this is also one of the benefit of SIP, that is systematic investment plan, which is nothing but redeem or convert from one unit to another unit. So they should have proper knowledge about the securities. For that, what they have to do? They have to do the market research. Hello everyone, I am Harshita, lecturer, Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysore. Today we are in the fourth session of Unit 3, that is Mutual Fund. So my dear students, now we shall quickly recall what we have discussed in a previous session. So in a previous session, we have covered this topic, that is advantages of mutual fund. So what are the advantages of mutual fund? So what do you mean by mutual fund? So mutual fund is nothing but pooling the savings of small investors and investing in profitable securities or in big securities. So that is known as what? Mutual fund. So here, what does the mutual fund will do? So it will pool the savings from all the small investors. So these small investors will not have sufficient knowledge about the investment and they can't invest in big securities. So for such kind of investors, so this mutual fund will help. So how they will help? By pooling the savings of all the small investors, and that huge amount will be invested in profitable securities or big securities where they can yield more return on investment. So we have discussed about advantages of mutual fund, disadvantages of mutual fund and difference between hedge fund as well as mutual fund. So we have learned what is the meaning of hedge fund, what is the meaning of mutual fund and what are the similarities between hedge and mutual fund and what is the main difference between these hedge fund as well as mutual fund. In today's session, we shall continue with new topic, that is periodic plans for investors. So under mutual fund, so they are providing periodical investment for the investors. So there are certain schemes which are provided by mutual fund where these investors can invest on a regular basis. Let us see what are those investments which are provided by the mutual fund. So a periodic payment. In the sense, periodically they are making the payment. So they are not making the payment at once. Periodically they are making the payment. So such plans or schemes are provided by the mutual fund. So a periodic payment plan is an investment plan that allows an individual is nothing but here investors, to make small payments. So here the investment will be made in small payment, not in a bulk payment, and payment over time in order to invest in mutual fund shares. So in order to invest in mutual fund shares, the small amount of payment is made on a regular basis. Let us see what are those types of plans. People who invest in periodic payment plans own an interest in the plan's trust rather than the shares in the fund. So what happens here? So that small savings will be collected and that big amount will be invested in mutual fund. So they are known as what? Periodic plans for investors. So here the investors periodically they are going to invest on some kind of securities. So that is known as what? Periodic plans for investors. Now let us see what are the important periodic plans for investors. So under that, first one is systematic investment plan, or it is also called as SIP. So what is this SIP? Systematic investment plans. Now let us see what is this systematic investment plan. So it is an option where you invest a fixed amount in a mutual fund scheme on a regular basis. So as I told you, periodic investment plan in the sense what? Periodically they are going to invest. So under that, the first one is systematic investment plan, where the investor is going to invest a fixed amount on a regular basis. That is in what? That is on mutual fund scheme. So here the investment is made on fixed amount in a mutual fund scheme at a regular basis. Regular basis they are going to make a fixed amount of fund. And next, for example, you can invest 1000 in a mutual fund every month. So this is just an example. For example, I have told you a fixed amount has been paid or invested on a regular basis is known as what? Systematic investment plan. So here, for example, you can invest 1000 in a mutual fund every month. So it is a disciplined investment. Why it is called as a disciplined investment? Because the amount of investment is fixed. Help reduce propensity to market fluctuations. So it helps to overcome the market fluctuation because the amount paid or invested is fixed and it is on regular basis. It is convenient tool that helps you to preserve capital. So that small savings or the small investment helps in preservation of capital or increase in capital and also render significant wealth creation in the long run. So for example, this 1000 rupees is paid in every month for 20 years. Then think about the investment. So here the 1000 is paid on a regular basis. So it helps in wealth creation or increase in capital of the investor. So SIP investment, that is systematic investment plan, can help you to reach your financial goals. So it helps to reach the financial goals by taking advantage of rupee cost averaging and growing your investment with compounded benefits. So it helps to grow the capital. So it helps in growth of capital. Now let us see what are the advantages of systematic investment plan. So the first one is saving a small sum of money regularly at an early age makes money work with greater power of compounding with significant impact on wealth accumulation. So I have already told you, so this small amount which is paid on a regular basis will thereby help in the wealth accumulation or increase in wealth of an investor. And the second one is SIP helps in averaging cost of acquiring units. So that amount will help in acquiring the units, that is nothing but mutual fund units. So the amount which is paid on a regular basis will help to acquire the mutual fund units. So it is very convenient. So this system is very convenient. SIP can be operated by simply providing post-dated checks with the completed enrollment form. The checks can be banked on the specified dates and the unit credited into investor's account. So here what this SIP will do, so it will provide post-dated checks. So using that checks, the amount can be credited to the bank account. So this is also one of the benefit of SIP, that is systematic investment plan. And the next one it helps in creating wealth over longer time period. So I have already told you creation, or it helps in wealth accumulation. So it helps in creating wealth over a longer period of time. Because this investment is made on a fixed amount on a regular basis, thus it helps in wealth accumulation of the investors. And next one is it makes investor disciplined in their savings. Why it is disciplined in their savings? Because they are going to save each and every month on a fixed basis, right? So it creates a disciplined savings. So it is also called as disciplined savings because fixed amount will be invested on a regular basis. Now let us see the next type of plan, that is systematic transfer plan. So we have already learnt about systematic investment plan where fixed amount of money is paid on a regular basis or invested on a regular basis, and that huge amount will be used for buying the mutual fund units, and also it creates wealth maximization or increase in wealth. So it leads to capital growth of an investor. Now next plan is all about systematic transfer plan. So here the word itself says that transfer, that is transfer of one unit to another, that is conversion of one unit to another. Now STP, that is systematic transfer plan, is a plan that allows investors to give consent to the mutual fund to periodically transfer a certain amount, that is switch, redeem certain units from one scheme and invest in another scheme. So what is it all about here? You know, in mutual fund, there are number of schemes. So, by this STP, that is systematic transfer plan, so one unit can be transferred to another unit, whereas one unit amount can be transferred to another unit. That is transfer of certain amount or switch. Switch is nothing but redeem or convert from one unit to another unit of the same mutual fund house. So, in a mutual fund house, there are number of schemes which are provided to the investors. So, depending upon the advantage as well as disadvantage, the investor will invest their securities. But what happens here, certain securities are not profitable in nature. In such situation, same quantity of unit can be converted into other type of units. That is, in the same mutual house, that is mutual fund house, one unit can be transferred or converted into another unit. That is, not profitable unit can be converted into profitable units. So, thus at a regular intervals, an amount or number of units you choose is transferred from one mutual fund scheme to another mutual fund scheme. Here, from scheme is nothing but a type of mutual fund units. So, here one type of mutual fund units can be transferred to another type of mutual fund units. It's nothing but change of scheme in mutual funds. This facility thus helps in deploying funds at a regular basis. So, here those funds which are not profitable in nature or which are not yielding good return, so such kind of mutual fund units can be converted into profitable units. Now, let us see what are the advantages of this systematic transfer plan, that is STP. So, the first one is consistent returns. So, through STP, you can transfer your money to a target equity fund while you are invested in a debt or liquid fund. So, here the investment can be, as I told you, the investment can be transferred from one unit to another unit. So, here the profit will be consistent. Why? So, as I told you, if the unit is not profitable in nature, such kind of units can be converted into profitable units. So, here they can maintain a profitable units. Overall, they can maintain the units in a profitable nature. So, here the units which are not profitable in nature or less profit, so they can be converted into more profitable units. So, here the return will be consistent. So, here the investors will not suffer from the loss. So, and you are invested in a debt as well as liquid fund. So, debt is nothing but here the units can be converted into both debt as well as liquid funds, which can be easily converted into cash. So, therefore, you will get the returns of the equity fund you are transferring into, and at the same time remaining protected as a part of the investment remains in the debt. So, here the units can be distributed as a liquid fund at the same time into the debt also. So, there will be a consistency in return. And the next one is averaging of cost. Like SIP, that is systematic investment plan, in STP2 a fixed amount of money is invested. So, in systematic investment plan also, a fixed amount of money is invested on a regular basis. In the same way, in systematic transfer plan also, a fixed amount of money is invested in the target fund at regular intervals. Here also it is paid on a regular basis. Since it is similar to SIP, STP assists in averaging out of cost of investors by purchasing more units at lower net asset value and vice versa. So, I have told you in the previous session itself, so when the investment is very bulk, so then the cost of investment will be less. So, if the investment is very huge, then the cost of investment will be less, so that it is profitable for the investors. If the mutual fund units are purchased in bulk quantity, then the net asset value of the units will be less. It's nothing but reduce in cost of investment. That is, if the investment is made in bulk, then the cost of investment will be less. Next, rebalancing portfolio. So STP facilitates. So as I told you, STP is nothing but systematic transfer plan where one unit can be transferred or converted into another plans. So there will be a portfolio. Here an investor can invest in number of units. So if one unit is not profitable in nature, that unit can be converted into profitable units. So there are number of options for an investors to convert their units or transfer their unit from one scheme of mutual fund to another scheme of mutual fund. So STP facilitates rebalancing the portfolio by allotting investment from debt to equity. So we are mainly going to consider debt and equity. So it's better that investment is not made on one type of securities. Instead, so the investment has to be divided between the debt as well as equity, so that if any loss or if any imbalance occurs, then it can be recovered. So if the investment is made in both debt as well as equity. So for mutual fund investors, so here there is an option for the investors to invest in both debt as well as equity, so that the risk can be minimized. So debt to equity or vice versa, if your investment is in debt, increases money can be re-allotted to equity funds. So if the debt amount is increasing, then it can be invested in equity. In the same way, if the equity securities are in loss, then the investment can be made in debt securities. So through an STP, and if your investment is equity goes up, money can be switched from one equity to debt. So here, depending upon the advantage as well as disadvantage, so here the securities can be switched or transferred from one unit to another unit. Next is systematic withdrawal plans. It is also called as SWP, that is regular withdrawal plan. So we will call it as SWP or RWP. What is this SWP? Systematic withdrawal plan, or RWP, regular withdrawal plan. So an RWP allows an investors to withdraw a designated sum of money. So here they can withdraw a designated sum of money and units from fund account at predetermined regular intervals. So it's nothing but not investment. It is about the withdrawing of units on a regular basis. So it allows investors a certain level of independence from market instability and helps in avoiding market timing. So depending upon the fluctuations or the price of the units, so they can withdraw certain number of units, that is from mutual fund scheme. So the investor can reinvest the redeemed cash in another portfolio. So whatever the amount that has been or the units that have been withdrawn, so that can be invested in some other units where there is more profit. So the investor can reinvest. Reinvest is nothing but what? Withdrawing certain number of units and investing in some other, or investing in some other units is called as reinvestment. The redeemed cash in another portfolio or use it as a source of regular income. Now what is this systematic withdrawal plan? So they can withdraw certain number of units and that units can be reinvested in some other units, or that amount can be used for their personal use. So this is about systematic withdrawal plan or regular withdrawal plans. Now let us see what are the advantages of SWP or RWP. So the first one is regular income. So RWP helps in creating regular flow of money from investment on a periodical basis. In the sense, they can withdraw certain amount of money on a regular basis. That is, the units can be withdrawn on a regular basis. So it creates a regular income for the investor. Next is tax benefit. So instead of selling all the units at once, so here the units are not sold at once. So they are withdrawn. It's nothing but they are withdrawn on a regular basis. So it leads to tax benefit for those units. So instead of selling all units at once, spanning the income across multiple intervals can lower the total tax. So it is a tax efficient way of receiving regular income. So in order to decrease the income, so if the units are sold at once, it leads to more tax. So since the withdrawal is made on a regular basis, so it helps in creating tax benefit. And the next one is avoid market fluctuations. So it saves an investor from market fluctuations as regular withdrawal averages out return value. So there are number of fluctuations, or there will be fluctuations in the market. So this SWP will help in avoiding the market fluctuations by withdrawing on a regular basis. Now we shall see what is this mutual fund myths. So there are number of disadvantages to the mutual fund. So let us see what is the actual fact about mutual fund. So in fact, mutual fund are meant for common investors. Of course, I have told you. So there are number of investors who are not able to invest or who do not have sufficient knowledge about the investment, and they are having small amount of money which cannot be invested on a big securities where they can yield more rate of return. For such kind of investors, these mutual fund will help. So this mutual fund help in pooling the savings of the small investors, and that huge amount can be invested in big securities where they can yield more rate of return, and that rate of return can be distributed among the investors. And there are certain people who keep their money as their savings. It's nothing but ideal savings where that savings will not be invested in any of the securities. So that are called as what? Ideal savings. So such kind of ideal savings will be invested in profitable securities. So it helps to increase the income or savings of such kind of investors. So in fact, mutual funds are meant for the common investors who may lack the knowledge or skill set to invest in securities market. So who are not having sufficient knowledge about the investment in securities market, for them this mutual fund plays a very important role. So mutual funds are professionally managed. Of course, since they are taking such big risk of the investors, so they have to be professionally managed. In the sense, these mutual fund employees are professional employees. So they should have sufficient knowledge about the market as well as the securities. So if they don't have sufficient knowledge, then of course the investors or the investment of the common people goes waste, right? So they should have sufficient knowledge about the investment as well as the securities. So they should be professionally managed by expert fund managers. So it is professionally managed by whom? Expert fund managers after extensive market research. Without research, they can't do anything, because they should have sufficient knowledge, because they are taking some others' money, that is small investors' money, and investing in the securities. So they should have proper knowledge about the securities. For that, what they have to do? They have to do the market research. A mutual fund is an inexpensive way for the investors and get a full-time professional fund manager to manage their money. So this mutual fund plays a very important role. So when compared to other types of services, this mutual fund is very inexpensive in nature, that is less expensive in nature, where this investors' money will be safeguarded by some other people, that is professionalized managers. So this is all about the fact about mutual fund. That is a myth about mutual fund. So it is being told that yes, mutual fund is expensive in nature and it can be used, or in mutual fund only the big investors can invest the money. But that is not the fact. So the fact is that mutual fund helps the common investors or the small investors who are not able to invest in the big securities, and also they pool the savings of the small investors, that is the idle money of the small investors, and invest in profitable securities. So my dear students, in today's session we have learned about mutual fund. See you all in my next session. Till then, take care. Thank you.